Deion Sanders is not a Florida State Seminole.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs, which is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Kevin Borba. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about why Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, does not claim Florida State. We're going to be talking about Travis Hunter's response to Dan Lanning, and then we're going to be talking about some position battle updates. So without further ado, yesterday during a press conference, a reporter who went to Miami was questioning Coach Prime about taking in all these Miami players or taking in all these Miami natives or something that had to do with the Hurricanes. And they were like, you are a Seminole, so why are you not being a Seminole, I guess, for lack of a better term? And this was his response. He's not a Nole. And so let's take a look.
And you're a Nole, my friend.
No. Actually, do you know where I graduated from? Yeah. Who said that? You know everything. She didn't know that. They didn't know that. Tell them again, where did I graduate? I graduated from HBCU. So I'm a who?
You're still a Nole.
I'm a who? I thought it's where you graduated from, isn't it? Why you keep calling me that? And then it goes to where I graduated from. I'm a HBCU grad.
And you're okay with all?
So he was asked about something Miami related, Miami Hurricanes related. And he was like, the reporter was like, but you're a Nole. And he's like, I'm not a Nole. Turns out he's a proud tornado. The Talladega College is a school, HBCU in Alabama. And their mascot is the Tornadoes. So yeah, he went to Florida State for 4 years, but did not end up graduating from Florida State before leaving for the NFL. And he actually finished his schooling at Talladega College, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm kind of talking about the little rivalry that's been forming between Colorado and Florida State, or I guess Coach Prime and Florida State, because I think it started at Jackson State and I think it's continued at Colorado. I don't want to say he has bad blood for his alma mater, but I do think that there's been comments made and treatment by people from his alma mater that he's not a fan of. And I have an example pulled up here. This is from Nole Game Day back in 2021. And so he was asked about on the Rich Eisen show whether or not he feel like he stole Travis Hunter from Florida State. And this is what he said. I don't think I took him. I don't think he ever belonged to them. I saw the burning of the jersey because people were burning Deion Sanders' jersey. I saw the foolishness. I laughed my butt off, first of all, but this is something I don't understand. I think it was either the year before or the year before that, that head coach Mike Norvell, who he said he's very fond of and likes what he's doing, called me to help him recruit a kid out of Louisiana. I FaceTimed the kid, FaceTimed the mother, and I did my thing. Florida State has been using me for years to do what I do, to help influence these kids to come to my wonderful alma mater. No problem. I did it. I believe the kid signed. So what's the difference from me doing it for myself? It was good enough for you, but it's not good enough for me. And that's what I have a problem with. So now you're saying I'm good enough to get you players, but I'm not good enough to get me players. Which one is it? And so I think, and then he continued saying, do you know how many years Florida State has been selling me and my accolades and what I've accomplished to come to that wonderful, prestigious university? You selling me and I can't sell me? So I think there's kind of like, I don't want to say bad blood, but I think there's a sense of Florida State for the longest time claimed him. They basically, and this is what all programs do, so it's not surprising. They basically claim to produce Deion Sanders. They produced Coach Prime and what he was. Obviously, he's self-made and all that, but that's kind of their thing. It's like, you come here, we produce Jalen Ramsey, Deion Sanders, Derwin James, and it's like they've always been claiming him. But as soon as he kind of left and started doing his own thing, Florida State fans were no longer like, oh, that's our guy. They were like, oh, how could you do this to us? Like, you traitor. Or I think it's always interesting to see how quickly things flip. And this is kind of my biggest take on this. Florida State was fine and dandy, like Coach Prime said, when he was benefiting them. But as soon as he started doing things that benefited his programs, because obviously he became coach, it is no longer we root for that guy. It is now that guy turned his back on us and that guy doesn't support us anymore, or whatever it may be. I imagine Coach Prime will always have some sort of love for Florida State. But I don't imagine he loves or forgets about people burning his jersey or people kind of making it seem like he's doing them dirty when realistically he's just doing his job. And so I think that was kind of an interesting random tidbit that we weren't expecting on a Tuesday before game day. But hey, this is a college football season with Coach Prime at the Power 5 level, so we got to expect the unexpected. I also think it's interesting that there's been a rivalry brewing with Colorado and Florida State, which ironically, unless they meet in a bowl game, I don't think the two will be playing anytime soon. But there's been comments made by Mike Norvell. There's been kind of comments made by recruits and stuff like that. And so it's probably the most random rivalry if you just look at it from the landscape of they don't play, they're nowhere near each other, and realistically, they have never had like a history of playing each other. But Coach Prime has kind of built in a rivalry with his previous school where he played college football, not his alma mater, because his alma mater, as we learned, is Talladega College. Go Tornadoes! But yeah, I thought that was interesting, and realistically, we're going to continue to see Coach Prime go at it with his. I want to say it's hard not to say his alma mater because that's what we've been referring to it as, but his former school, because he is recruiting in their footprint. He is recruiting in the heart of Florida, and he's doing it well, mind you. So there's going to be a lot more Coach Prime versus Florida State drama, but I just want, or not drama, but kind of, I guess you could call it drama. But that's why he doesn't claim Florida State. They kind of turned their back on him at times. He didn't like how they treated him when he grabbed Travis. He didn't like how they treated him just in general when he started to do things for himself and it wasn't about the school. Because I think a lot of people think, and I heard Charles Barkley say this the other day when talking about Auburn. They don't care. They care about their school being successful, but their happiness in life does not hinge on the school they went to being successful. And so I think college fans kind of expect athletes that went to their school to like be ride or die for their school, and which I think there's some guys who are, and I think there's some guys who aren't. But I think for the most part, guys are like, yeah, I'm fine if they do well, but it doesn't change my happiness or my day to day either way. And I think that's kind of the approach that Coach Prime takes, and I think that's why Florida State fans are becoming more and more upset, which, I mean, it's the name of the game, so you can't really get upset about that. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by Game Time. I always know it's difficult to find tickets. There was a basketball game that me and my girlfriend wanted to go to last year. LeBron James and the Lakers were playing against the Warriors in Golden State. We really wanted to see LeBron play before he retires, and so tickets were super expensive. It was hard to find them, but if you go to Game Time like we did, we were able to buy tickets at a great price, find good seats, and we were able to do it at the last minute. So if you want to do the same, they have which by the way, they have flash deals and last minute tickets. They're easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Game Time is a place for last minute tickets deals. You don't have to plan months in advance. They have tickets right up to the day of the event. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find the tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you for 110% of the difference. So snag the tickets without the stress. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Okay. Travis Hunter talked about Dan Lanning's comments the other day. As we know, Travis Hunter has a new show or live stream event, I guess you could call it. I'm going to call it a show with Bleacher Report. And he discussed the comments made by Oregon's head coach, Dan Lanning, because that was kind of controversial about a week or so ago. And I think he has one, and the reason I'm talking about this now is because Travis has the perfect response. And two, I think it's indicative of the culture that Coach Prime is building, despite the fact that people don't think there's a culture. I think the culture that he's building is a winning culture, and it's a culture that's going to find success. And so I wanted to show you guys that. And I wanted to show you guys how the mindset of Colorado is as they head into a season where everybody's going to want to beat them, and they're going to be viewed as underdogs by just about everybody.
What they won to affect this conference, I don't remember. You remember them winning anything? I don't remember them winning anything. Appreciate it. Not a big reaction. I mean, I'm trying to remember what they.
Well, Coach Dan Lanning is saying, that's a very good guy. He recruited me out of Georgia when he was there, so I like him. But what he's saying is like we still got to prove ourselves. Just because we got a lot of guys, this don't mean anything. We still got a lot to prove to people. I mean, he just can't be like, oh yeah, we're afraid of them because they got a lot of players. No, we, like you said, we didn't win anything. So right now we're the underdog, and we got to take over no matter what they say.
So yeah, I think that's the perfect response. I think people wanted big responses out of Colorado. I think, especially now that Coach Prime is there. This is another takeaway. Everybody wants to have a beef, a tie, or a something linking them to Colorado and Coach Prime. This isn't me trying to be like Colorado's the greatest thing ever. But when you're talking about Coach Prime, you know that people are going to write about it. You know that people are going to talk about it. And then, it gives you attention. So, and obviously Dan Lanning at that time was frustrated because the Pac-12 was still intact. What a time that was. That was 3 weeks ago, I believe, or a month ago. But I think it's a perfect response by Travis Hunter here because one, it shows two things really. It shows that Coach Prime is instilling a culture in this Colorado team that just because I brought you here, just because we're the number one transfer portal class, and just because we got rid of the 111 roster last year, doesn't mean we're anything yet. We're nothing. So I like that because it shows that it shows they still feel like they have a chip on their shoulder, which they should, because honestly, they've proven nothing. I mean, to no fault of their own, they haven't played a game, but they've proven nothing. And then secondly, it shows that this culture at Colorado is kind of a us against the world culture or us against the world mentality. And I love that mentality because realistically, and we saw it yesterday on yesterday's episode when I talked about Tom Lubinville, I believe, Lubingill, whatever his name is, discussing that Colorado has the worst roster in the country. I think every reporter in college football wants Coach Prime to respond and kind of, I don't want to say diss the reporter or like diss the analyst or whatever, but everybody wants him to respond. Or everybody wants Shadur to respond, and it's like when you bully someone, I guess, or when people are bullied. Most of the time, people pick on someone that they want to get a reaction out of. And I think that's what a lot of the media and a lot of these people making comments about Colorado are doing. They want to get a reaction out of Coach Prime because then they know he's going to say something. Then when they play, say they win, say Oregon wins after Coach Prime kind of goes off about Dan Lanning, then they have material to use. And I think that's what everybody in college football is kind of wanting to use on Coach Prime is material. They want to be able to be like, oh, because especially now with all the social media teams, a lot of programs across the country have great social media teams. So they add tidbits from, like, say this episode, where if I was like, Oregon's terrible and they're not going to beat Colorado because they have Deion Sanders. Like, if I said that, they would play that over the video, and then it would be like the score of Oregon beating Colorado. And so it's like a meme thing. So they want that from Coach Prime. Everything is for memes, clicks, and likes these days. And while it's not a great world to be in, it's the world we live in. By the way, guys, college football season is here, and this season Locked On is kicking up our coverage with Locked On College Football Kickoff Live. Each Friday, Locked On will go live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on every Locked On College YouTube channel. College Football Kickoff Live will cover playoff implications, the conference rivalry games, and go in depth like only Locked On can, including insight and analysis from our stable of Locked On College hosts covering their team every day. Find Locked On College Football Kickoff Live every Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on any Locked On College YouTube channel. You won't want to miss it. So yeah, go to my channel, go to any Locked On channel. You can find it. It'll be great. Back to what I was talking about with Travis Hunter's response. I love the response, love the culture that it's instilling in Colorado, especially from Travis Hunter. As someone who's as highly recruited, as talented as he is, he can really say anything he wants. I think regardless of how good Colorado is the next 2 or 3 years that he's here, he's probably still going to be a first-round pick. It is what it is. He's just that good. But Coach Prime has kind of instilled in everybody, they're a team, they're a family. What they do, they have to prove themselves because right now they are I don't say the most unproven team in college football, but they are probably one of the most unproven teams in college football. It's not their fault. They just haven't played a game yet. So we're going to find out this weekend against TCU kind of what they're made of, a little bit of what they're made of, but love the response here from Travis. I think realistically it shows all the things you want to see in a program that had a horrible foundation and a horrible, how do you say it? A horrible foundation and a horrible mindset the year before. So love to see it from Travis. When we come back, there's position battle updates. Miles Slusher has emerged as a starter. Who is pushing for the other starting cornerback spot? It's a freshman, but it's not the one you're thinking about. Welcome back. We're talking about some position battle updates for Colorado ahead of their week 1 game. To my knowledge, Colorado has not released, which I just received the let me just check real quick. I guess we'll go live on air. We just received the media package for the game against TCU, and there was no depth chart on it that I'm aware of. They have the numerical roster, and then they have like info about everybody else, but they don't have a depth chart that I'm aware of. Let's see. Nope. Okay. So, but he did give us some updates about certain players and certain standings and stuff like that. And so I thought it was interesting because I wanted to go back to an episode about a month or so ago. I was talking about certain positions, and you guys disagreed with who I said was going to be a star. And one of the guys that they discussed yesterday at the press conference was Miles Slusher, the Arkansas transfer, who you guys, a lot of you guys at least, disagreed that I said he'd be a starter. But this is what Coach Prime had to say. He says he expects him to start at the star position, which is, let's see, because they have certain positions for everything. So they have, that would be like their equivalent of the nickel, I believe. So that means obviously Miles is starting at one spot, which means there's still Trevor Woods or Shiloh Sanders, Roderick Ward, Cameron Craig, Vito Tisdale, Travis J, all competing for the other 2 safety spots. But Miles Slusher is a starter. So that's one correct for me. Again, I'm telling you, he was one of their best players at Arkansas. I didn't see how he could stay off the field. Obviously, when Coach Prime loves you, that's a good endorsement. And then I said this, and there was a lot of disagreement, but I said that I think Travis Hunter was going to start at one corner spot, not a hot take, but the other corner spot was going to be manned by none other than Jaquez Robinson, or no, not Jaquez Robinson, or Marion Cooper, excuse me. The Florida State transfer, the defensive back, who has experience, is probably the most experienced corner on the team outside of Travis. And I said that he was going to start opposite Travis, and then Cormani would work his way into the lineup eventually. But I was partially right on that one. Cormani is currently not in position to start. It is actually Omarion and another freshman who I'm going to introduce you to him right now because I know I have not talked about him because honestly didn't expect him to make a jump like this. But Carter Stoudemire, excuse me. He is one of the few guys that, not the few guys, but one of the guys that remained from this previous class. 3-star recruit out of Plano, Texas. I went to Prestonwood Christian. I was ranked as the 733rd player in the country, 74th corner, and the 112th best player in Texas. He had offers from, Colorado, Arizona, Memphis, and Penn State, SMU, and Tulane. Had just 9 offers. Great find, obviously, if he's pushing for a starting role. He's got great size, decent size at 5'11", 170. He's got track speed. This is what his little recruiting breakdown says. He ran an 11.03 100 meter and long jumped 22.0 as a junior in spring. Placed 4th in the long jump, and then ran the second leg of Prestonwood Christian's gold medal winning 4x100 and 4x2 100 relays. And his dad played in the NFL, Omar Stoudemire, played at Fresno State as well. So obviously we have some interesting battles in secondary. And then there was one that he did not pick a winner, which I still think it's going to be who I said. I think it's going to be Jace Feely. He said all 3 kickers were doing good. He's confident all 3 of them. I think Jace Feely, who we saw the other day nail a 62-yarder and said he had 65 yards in him in practice. I think that's going to be one of their starters for Colorado. But those were the guys that were talked about yesterday. Let me double check to make sure I didn't miss anybody. So yeah, we know Miles Slusher starting. We know Carter Stoudemire, excuse me. Amari Stoudemire's in the head. I don't know why, but these are the guys that are kind of pushing for the spots. Oh, also, Coach Prime was in a shoe rather than a walking boot, so his chances of running out onto the field are looking good. Who else did he talk about? He talked about the offense line. He says you have to protect Deion Sanders, give him a clean pocket, and there's going to be some problems for the defense. And then he said he feels good about the offensive line. Didn't like the response, or he didn't like the NCAA's response to Tyler Brown. Says that they're interested in helping people, but they're really not, which I totally agree with. I think the NCAA, they inserted that thing about, oh, we care about the athlete's mental health, and then when someone like Tyler Brown, who has mental health issues, his mom is having to pay for mental health resources while he was at Jackson State, and he transfers to a program where they don't have to pay for it, and it's a better situation for him. And the NCAA is like, sorry, you transferred twice, so we can't give you eligibility. Yeah, it really shows you care about the student athlete's mental health. A good job by the NCAA. That's sarcasm, if you guys can tell. But yeah, those were the guys that have kind of cemented themselves as starters or as key players right now. We're gonna have to wait and see for the what happens to the what happens this weekend, who kind of takes the field. But we know Miles Slusher's gonna be out there. We know Travis Hunter's gonna be out there. Levante Bentley, Shane Cokes, Coach Prime raved about him. So they have a lot of positions starting to take place, and a lot of position battles starting to settle themselves. And college football's here. Tomorrow, Locked On Buffs, you won't want to miss out. We're doing a crossover show with Locked On Horned Frogs. So we're going to be previewing the game and discussing everything you need to know. I appreciate you guys for liking, subscribing, and tuning in every single day. I appreciate you guys for following me along this journey. College football season is here. Can't wait. Thanks for watching.